Rassie Erasmus has provided a crucial update on Siya Kolisi and Nche ahead of the opening test of Rugby's greatest rivalry series against the All Blacks at Ellis Park, while also dropping an important hint about the Springboks bench strategy and explaining why the team announcement has been delayed. The biggest news for South African supporters is that Kolisi and Nche are currently the only players considered doubtful for the opening clash. However, neither player has been ruled out, and both could still be available if they successfully get through training. Siya Kolisi has faced another frustrating fitness setback after suffering a hamstring issue following his return from injury against Argentina. He was then a late withdrawal from the Springboks starting lineup against England during the Nations Championship. For a player as important as Kolisi, his availability naturally attracts huge attention. The double Rugby World Cup winning captain brings not only experience and physical ability but also leadership that has become closely associated with the modern Springboks. However, Rassie Erasmus is not prepared to take unnecessary risks. The coach explained that the situation is more about minor niggles than serious injuries. That means the door remains open for Kolisi to return, but his fitness will need to be assessed carefully before the final decision is made. The same situation applies to Nche, who suffered a setback during the Springboks' victory over England. South Africa subsequently decided not to take him to South America as a precaution, giving the prop additional time to recover before the enormous challenge against New Zealand. Erasmus confirmed that if both players successfully get through the required training, they could be available for selection. That means the Springboks are entering the final stages of preparation with most of their squad fit and only two major question marks. Another positive update concerns Lock Franco Mostert, with Erasmus indicating that he is progressing well. His availability would provide further experience and strength to a Springboks pack preparing for one of the most demanding matches on the international calendar. But injuries are not the only story. One of the biggest surprises is the decision by Erasmus to delay the announcement of the Springboks team until Thursday. The coach has frequently announced his teams earlier in the week, but this time South Africa will keep the selection secret until Thursday, the same day Dave Rennie is expected to reveal the All Blacks team. For Erasmus, the decision is not about arrogance or attempting to create unnecessary drama. He explained that it is about respecting New Zealand and reducing the amount of time the All Blacks have to prepare specifically for South Africa's final selection. That is a significant tactical decision. At international level, preparation is incredibly detailed. Coaches study individual players, combinations, kicking patterns, attacking structures, defensive tendencies, and set-piece strategies. Knowing the opposition's exact lineup earlier can give a team more time to prepare specific plans. By waiting until Thursday, the Springboks can keep several possibilities open. New Zealand will have to prepare for different combinations for longer. The All Blacks will not know whether Kolisi is available, whether Nche returns, which fly-half starts, or exactly how the South African bench will be structured. In a rivalry this intense, even small pieces of uncertainty can be valuable. The fly-half battle is particularly interesting. South Africa has three major options in Manie Libbok, Handre Pollard, and Sacha Feinberg-Mngomezulu. All three bring different qualities. Pollard offers enormous experience, a strong tactical kicking game, and proven composure in major test matches. Libbok provides attacking creativity, passing ability, and a willingness to challenge defensive structures. Feinberg-Mngomezulu represents one of the most exciting younger talents in South African rugby and has continued to attract attention with his potential. Erasmus refused to reveal which player will start, but he did confirm something important. 2 fly-halves will be included in the Springboks matchday 23. That could be a major clue regarding the bench. The Springboks have become famous for their bomb squad strategy, using a powerful group of replacements to increase physical pressure as matches enter their final stages. One of the questions ahead of the All Blacks test is whether South Africa will use a 6-2 bench split, with 6 forwards and only 2 backs. However, the confirmation that 2 fly-halves will be selected could make a 6-2 split less likely. It does not completely rule it out, because the final structure depends on the rest of the squad, but it suggests that South Africa wants significant backline flexibility. That could be especially important against New Zealand. The All Blacks can punish defensive mistakes with speed and movement, so South Africa may want enough backline cover to respond to different match situations. At the same time, the Springboks will still want the physical impact of their replacements. This is where the final selection becomes fascinating. The bomb squad has become much more than a simple selection trick. It is part of the Springboks' wider philosophy of managing an 80-minute match. South Africa wants to maintain pressure when opponents begin to tire. Fresh forwards can change the intensity of the scrum and breakdown. Fresh backs can increase speed and decision-making. Experienced players can manage the closing stages. The challenge for Erasmus is finding the perfect balance against an All Blacks side that will be preparing specifically for this approach. New Zealand knows what South Africa wants to do. The question is whether the All Blacks can stop it. That is why Erasmus has been so careful about revealing his selection. The opening test at Ellis Park is not an ordinary match. It is the first major battle in a series that will last several weeks, and both coaching teams know that the first match will provide information for everything that follows. Players will be tested. Tactics will be tested. Fitness will be tested. Depth will be tested. The first test will also provide coaches with new information about their opponents. A player who performs strongly in Johannesburg could become a key figure later in the series. A tactical weakness discovered in the first match could be targeted in the next. That means neither South Africa nor New Zealand can afford to think only about one 80-minute contest. The series will require adaptability. This is particularly relevant to the fly-half situation. Erasmus suggested that all three of his fly-half options could play during the wider series. That makes sense given the length of the campaign and the injury situation affecting both teams. South Africa may need to rotate players. They may need to respond to tactical changes. They may need to manage workloads. And they may need different styles depending on the opponent's approach. For the opening test, however, the selection will reveal what Erasmus believes is the best combination for Ellis Park. If Pollard starts, South Africa could lean heavily on tactical control, territory and pressure. If Libbok starts, the attack could have a more unpredictable dimension. If Feinberg-Mngomezulu receives the opportunity, South Africa could be placing its trust in youthful confidence and attacking ambition. There is also the possibility that one fly-half starts while another becomes a major second-half weapon. That flexibility could be extremely valuable. The same applies to Siya Kolisi. If he is cleared, his presence could provide an enormous boost to the Springboks. But if he is not fully fit, South Africa must resist the temptation to rush him back simply because the opponent is New Zealand. The coaching staff knows that this is a series, not a single match. A player who is forced back too early could potentially miss more important matches later. That is why the medical assessment will be critical. For Nche, the same logic applies. The prop's importance to the Springboks' front row options is obvious, but his fitness must be trusted before he takes part in such a physically demanding test. If both players pass their final tests, South Africa could enter the match with an extremely strong squad. If one or both miss out, the next player must step forward. That is the strength of the Springboks system. The team has developed considerable depth, and Erasmus has repeatedly shown that he is willing to trust players who are prepared to take their opportunity. The opening test will therefore be about more than famous names. It will be about combinations. It will be about execution. It will be about discipline. It will be about how both teams respond when the match becomes uncomfortable. At Ellis Park, the atmosphere itself could become a factor. The Springboks will have a passionate home crowd behind them, and they will want to use that energy from the opening whistle. South Africa will likely look to establish physical control, build pressure and force New Zealand into difficult decisions. The All Blacks, meanwhile, will want to disrupt that rhythm. They will need to move the ball quickly, maintain discipline and avoid giving South Africa easy opportunities to build territorial pressure. That makes the first 20 minutes particularly important. If South Africa gets control early, the crowd could become increasingly part of the wider tactical battle. It is not simply a media decision. The Springboks want to make New Zealand prepare for multiple possibilities for as long as possible. At the same time, South Africa must make sure its own players remain focused. The coaching staff cannot allow the mystery surrounding the selection to become a distraction. Every training session now matters. Every fitness assessment matters. Every tactical rehearsal matters. Because once the teams are announced, there will be nowhere left to hide. The players will have to deliver. The forwards will have to dominate their battles. The backs will have to make smart decisions. The defense will have to remain connected. The kicking game will have to be accurate. And the replacements will have to make an impact. That final point could become decisive. The All Blacks know that South Africa can change the game through its bench. The Springboks know New Zealand will try to neutralize that advantage. This creates another fascinating tactical battle within the match. The first team to establish control may not necessarily win. The team that manages the final 20 minutes could be the one that comes out on top. That is why the fitness of Kolisi and Nche matters so much. If they are available, South Africa gains additional experience and physical strength. If they are unavailable, the squad must adapt. Either way, Erasmus has made one thing clear: the final decision will be based on readiness, not reputation. That approach has helped define the Springboks in recent years. They have developed a squad where players are expected to be ready whenever their opportunity arrives. Now that philosophy will be tested against the All Blacks, the opening match of rugby's greatest rivalry series promises to be a contest filled with pressure, tactical battles, and individual matchups. But before the first whistle, the biggest story remains the mystery surrounding the Springboks selection. Rassie Erasmus has confirmed that Siya Kolisi and Nche are the only major injury doubts. He has provided a positive update on Franco Mostert. He has confirmed that 2 fly-halves will be included. And he has delayed the official team announcement until Thursday. That means the rugby world still has several major questions to answer. The most important one is whether Siya Kolisi will be ready to lead South Africa against New Zealand. The second is whether Nche will return to the front row battle. The third is which fly-half will take control of the Springboks attack. And the fourth is exactly how Erasmus will structure his bench. Those answers are coming. Until then, the speculation continues. For the Springboks, the objective is simple: prepare properly, protect their players, respect the All Blacks, and arrive at Ellis Park ready to perform. For New Zealand, the challenge is equally clear: be prepared for whatever South Africa reveals. The greatest rivalries are often decided by fine margins, and this one will be no different. Rassie Erasmus has chosen secrecy. He has chosen patience. He has chosen to give the All Blacks as little information as possible. Now the players must turn that preparation into performance. And when the Springboks finally walk onto the field at Ellis Park, the questions surrounding Siya Kolisi, Nche, the fly-half battle, and the bomb squad will finally have their answers. Until then, one thing is certain: the opening chapter of rugby's greatest rivalry series is already building into a fascinating contest.